Hey! Today I finally received my Barbie look style model number 4 and I was super excited about it, and I thought, how could I make a video about this? Because I'm sure you've seen hundreds of other people unbox the doll, so I decided to start my own series. And if you read in the title, you would see that it's called Who Looks Better? You get it? Anyway, in this series, I will be taking dolls, new or used, and customizing them so they're the exact aesthetic that I'm after. And since I'll be working with some paint, I'm gonna have to take these white clothes off because I don't want them getting stained. And now he's ready for some face touch-ups. Now, it doesn't look like the eyes have changed much, but when I look at it, I can see a difference. And now I'm just gonna go through and repaint on the lips. And now that the other lighter coat has dried, I'm just adding a coat in a darker colour. While that's drying, why don't we make some jewellery? I start by opening a jump ring and I put it around the finger so I can clamp it to the perfect size. And that's the first ring done. I then repeat the same process with the second ring. Next I take some thin bendy wire in a similar colour, cut a chunk off, and I wrap it around the finger. And now you have a different styled but still very easy ring. And for the last piece of jewellery, I take some gold chain, open a jump ring, add a clasp, and the end of the chain. Next, take a doll that you want the necklace to fit. I open a second jump ring and thread the other end of the chain on, being sure to close it up tightly. And now that the lip paint is finally dry, I'm going to give it just one more coat. And now that the second coat of lip colour is dry, I'm just coating the eyes and lips in a matte Mod Podge. Now all that dries, let's move on to an outfit. So, no hate to Mattel, but his old outfit looked a bit too white. So I made some very basic patterns. Here are some jeans. These are just an old pair of jeans I found at the thrift store, and they are pretty stretchy, but not quite jegging stretchy. And a jumper. This fabric is also from a thrift store. It's an old pair of really thin tracksuit pants. Now, I'm going to sew most of this on my sewing machine, but it's pretty difficult to film. But I will be sure to show you where I've sewn. First things first, I'm going to cut out following the pattern. And yes, I have remembered to add seam allowance. And now that it's cut out, you can unfold it and you should see the rough shape of your shirt. I have also done these patterns so that it is very minimal sewing. So you only have to sew 2 bits, from the very end of the sleeve right down around to the end of the shirt on both sides. And now that I have sewn all the way down here on both sides, just a tip, this kind of fabric doesn't fray, so I haven't had to hem anything. I can now turn it in the right way. Okay, let's move on to the jeans. Just like the shirt, I start cutting out following the pattern. Now, they may look a bit strange at the moment, but I promise it'll all make sense in the end. I then put a line of glue at the bottom of the leg and fold it over. And for the second fold, I only do 3 dots of glue, so it actually looks rolled up. And I just repeated the same process on the other side. Now I'm going to fold some down around the top of the waistband. I turn the pants over so that the wrong side is facing out. I take some pins and I pin the legs in place where I'm going to sew. Now I'm going to sew up to about here on the sewing machine. And then for the crotch and the front fly, I'm going to sew all that by hand. Now, since I'm going for like a shredded skinny jean kind of look, I brought the leg in so they'll be a lot tighter. But using the same method, you could also make wide leg jeans. And be sure to keep testing it on your doll, because you wouldn't want to turn it all in the right way just to find out that something's wrong. So now I'm just going to go and cut off all of this excess fabric around the leg. So now that I've trimmed up all around the legs, and I've also pinned the front fly, which after I've sewn this, I will cut off the excess fabric. And I've also pinned a little bit at the back, which when sewn down will give the illusion of a back seam. Now, as you can see here, I've taken a thin strip of the same denim, and I'm just putting a line of glue and folding it over. Okay. So I've just made sure I've cut off all the excess fabric and I've sewn up and around the crotch and the illusion of the back seam. I'm just going to check one last time that they look alright on the doll. They look good to me, so now I'm turning it in the right way. And here they are, all turned in the right way. I'm going to sew this all by hand, and then I'm going to sew a fly on, and then I'm going to sew down the seam in the back. I'm going to use white cotton, so it won't be too noticeable, but it will hold the seams in place. Now I've just finished sewing the fly onto the front and the back seam. Now, using this strip we just made before, I'm going to measure it and cut it down to make tiny little belt loops. But make sure all your belt loops are the same size, otherwise it might look a bit weird. And now I'm just going to use the rest of the strap to make more to go all the way around the back and the front. Here it is all finished. Now, since I want these jeans to look worn, I'm just using some white acrylic paint and water to give it that worn kind of effect. I then use some water just to tone down all the sharp edges. And I repeat this process all over the jeans. Here they are. I've just finished blending all the white paint in. Now, I take my little sewing snippers, but you could just use scissors. And I make little cuts all over the jeans. Now, where I put the white paint, it was like a rough marking of where I wanted to snip them. So I just go through and snip them all up. And then I just use my nail to scratch at it. This will start them fraying. And since it has all the acrylic paint and the water on it, they'll kind of dry in that worn shape. And just for detail, I take a little bead and some glue and I stick it on to look like a little button. And since those jeans are still quite wet, he can stand over here while they dry. In the meantime, let's move on to the jumper. And here's the jumper all cut out. I may have to cut the neck hole bigger, but I don't want to accidentally cut it too big. And just for some extra detail, I go through on the jumper and fold all the edges over. And now, the neck one can be a little bit difficult, but if you just make sure to keep pushing down on it, it should stick into place. Now, I've just finished sewing the jumper together. The jeans are still a little bit wet, but they'll be fine to put on him so we can see how the outfit looks. And here's all the pieces of the outfit. I add the gold chain necklace from earlier. Now, he looks good and all, but I want to change this hairstyle. I'm gonna go try something. So it's been about 4 days and here is the hairstyle. I think he looks pretty cool, and the very last step is to just add some shoes. And he's all done. Here's a full view of the outfit. Comment down below if you have anything you would like to see me do, or even just to tell me what you think of him. Personally, I'm really happy with him, and the best part is the outfit was actually quite easy to make. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can join me in the next video. Oh, and just before I go, here's a quick before and after. Bye!